I've always been interested in the therapists that treat personality disorders.
Yeah.
What is it with you guys?
For me, it's a no-brainer because that's where you get to know the whole person. Before I went into psychiatry, did a PhD in literature because I'm interested in people. Literature is a way to get to know the human experience better. And as a psychiatry resident, this is in the 1980s, I noticed that most people coming for treatment were given meds. They were given a med for depression. They were given a med for anxiety. They were given a med for psychosis. And I thought, it seemed to me that psychiatry is about getting to know people in their fullest, not just alleviating a symptom and saying goodbye. So personality disorders allow, because they're too complex to treat with a med. It's not a symptom you can just alleviate. By the way, a lot of depressions don't just get better with the meds anyway. But personality disorders puts you in contact with the whole person, the ins and outs of the person, the depth of the person. It's just a way of getting into the human experience more fully than any other that I know.
Do you feel like well, I guess you must understand more things about yourself. I mean, it has to feed back to you too, right?
Oh, yeah, very much so. I mean, I think therapists in general should have their own psychodynamic therapy or analysis. Mine helped me a lot, but so does my work. You're always getting in touch with little corners tucked away in yourself. And I think that awareness is a wonderful thing to achieve as best we can, and then to use it to empathize with others. But again, in that kind of empathy where empathy isn't just saying, I see what you feel and that's okay, but, I really get what you feel. It's okay to feel it, but, what are some better ways to deal with it?
How much, if a patient isn't improving, how much of that do you take to heart? How much of it do you take home with you? And I guess that's obviously why you should have your own therapy, because it's a lot to hold.
You have to learn, and it takes experience. I don't think you can learn it overnight, to have the depths of your own self activated and then to take a distance from it when you go home. When I was first doing therapy, I can remember to this day, and this was 40 years ago, times when I brought the emotion home and it just stayed with me all evening. If that continued to be the case now, I just couldn't do the work. It's just too exhausting. So it's a skill I think we therapists can develop, to be touched, to be activated, not to act on it, to be internally aware of it, to think, what does this emotion have to do with what's going on in my patient right now, and use it, and then try to tuck it away. But you asked another question, because that question was about when things are very intense and emotions are activated. That's usually good for the therapy. But I think you also said, what happens if you think the treatment isn't going anywhere? And first of all, you have to, if that seems to be the case, get a second opinion. Maybe it's not the right treatment approach. But I remember one of my wonderful mentors, who's since passed away, Anne Applebaum. She was one of those great women who was prominent in the field when it was such a majority of men. She was a real groundbreaker. Wow. She used to supervise me in some very difficult cases. And I'd say, Anne, I just don't think anything's happening with this case. And she'd say, I think if you just stick with it, something is going to emerge. And that's a very important commitment, because our patients, at least those with the most severe personality disorders, don't think anyone can tolerate their journey, their emotional journey. So if we're feeling like it's bogged down, maybe it is, or maybe that's just something you have to go through with them and show them you're not going to give up on them because it seems so bleak at the moment. And I found that commitment to keep going often has a very therapeutic impact in the long run.